Good morning, Celtics fans. Welcome back to another episode of the Celtics Chronicle with me, your boy, Adam Taylor. As usual, I'm joined by my homies, compadres, co-hosts in crime, Mr. Tim Sheils and Mr. Mike Webber. What's popping, y'all?
Nothing much. Happy to be
Gentlemen,
almost at the end of the week.
let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Weekend's almost here.
Nearly there.
Weekend's almost here. So we're recording this on Thursday. We're releasing it on Friday. And we're talking Jordan Walsh, fresh off a 3-year, $16 million contract extension to remain in Boston. Deal will kick in after this season. This season, it's still at that 2.4 million mark. Guys, first and foremost, how are we feeling about Walsh getting an extra 3 years?
I'm with it. I've seen worse deals, and I think in terms of what you get from him, I think it's a good value, and I think the Celtics, we'll talk about it more in the episode, I think the Celtics have done a great job of finding value in these extensions, and especially when these guys get on the market, they're going to get a lot more, so good.
Man, I think we were all kind of waiting to see what was going to happen with him, right? Because it'd been coming up like, oh, Walsh is next. And I mean, I'm not as enthusiastic about this contract signing as I was Ron Harper Jr. That was awesome. But I was pumped about that because of the player and the work. But I think at the worst case scenario, if he stays the same player he is, it's not a terrible investment for the future.
I think for me, the biggest thing is finding success with your second round picks is a testament to a very well-run franchise. When we look around the league and we see these teams picking up second rounders and consistently finding some level of success with them, I usually think the Spurs during the Greg Popovich years just always seem to hit on their picks, and the Celtics are kind of trending that way too. For me, when you're finding guys in that second round and you're developing them and then they're owning contracts, or you're just developing undrafted dudes that are coming through your G League system, it makes you an attractive prospect to players of any level because it just shows the way that you're doing things the right way. Your developmental pipeline is perfectly well set. So for me, it's great that Walsh gets this deal and gets more time to develop. I think we all forget how young he is because of how long he's been in the league already. And there's still untapped upside there. But it's also, when guys do go undrafted and maybe they do have something to offer, Boston will be one of the first names that they want to land with because there's a clear pathway to earning minutes. And then if you put the work in, there's a pathway to earning a contract. And if you look at this team at the moment, Sam Hauser, undrafted, came through Maine on a very reasonable deal. Neemias Queta couldn't land anywhere. It was in Sacramento, didn't really work out. Moved around a bit, ended up in Boston as a two-way. Just signed an extension. Jordan Walsh, second round pick, just signed an extension. Does this kind of draw if you're a late first, early second, mid-second round guy where you kind of want to land in Boston at this point because there's so many guys that have gone through this pathway. There's a blueprint for you. So for me, that was actually one of the key takeaways from this contract extension for Walsh. Wasn't so much, it was definitely great for him, but for me, it was more of this franchise just keeps doing things the right way. And that was great to be able to think after so much back and forth over everything that happened with the JB deal earlier this month.
Yeah, and I think the cool thing about it too is you look at like what it's going to be like year by year, and in terms of the output that you're getting from the guy now, with the expectation that, hey, we have faith in you. We're giving you this contract because of what you've done, on top of the fact of what we think you're capable of doing. And you saw it with Peyton Pritchard, of course, and he was a first round pick, but still they believed in that guy, gave him the extension, and now it's one of the best contracts in the NBA. And that'll be something we talk about too. But before we jump to that, I want to talk about the fact of just how this contract's going to scale. Like we said before, the $2.4 million in this year, before that extension kicks in, for 2027-28, it'll be about $4.6 million. 2028-29 will be $5 million. And then that final year, it'll be a team option worth $5.4 million. So for a guy who is this young, who brings that defensive intensity, something that's crucial to get minutes in the Celtics organization, just being able to play hard, strong defense, and just brings a lot of energy when he's out on the floor, and all of that athleticism that he brings is big. And I think the fact that like they were able to get this deal done for that figure is just so crucial when you're a team that's trying to manage this cap sheet. You know, we talked about this team being under this cap crunch before Jaylen Brown got moved, and they still have to figure their way into getting out of the repeater tax. I'm sure that'll be something that ends up happening at the deadline, if anything. But being able to get players like this who have been around your organization, who you've shown faith in, and developed, getting them to stick around long term is indicative of your ability to negotiate these deals, as well as the player's willingness to stick around. Like, I don't think Jordan Walsh, even if you somehow could see him going to market and getting better money, which by the looks of how the contracts have kind of worked out on the market is definitely a possibility. He took a healthy pay cut to stay here. Like, that was really well negotiated for the Celtics.
I think back to what Adam was saying, though, about sending the right message and like people wanting to be part of the organization. I think the Celtics developmental system deserves a lot of credit for the being transparent with players. Like, remember Chris said it? He had said that basically, I don't know if it was Emil or Joe had said to him, hey, listen, like, you dropped to 27, go out there and show them, go work on the things that made you drop to 27, right? And then when Jordan Walsh was in Vegas, I've got a quote here from it. It was like, he said, I'm trying to change my identity offensively. He said when he was in Vegas, I'm trying to become a better player offensively. I'm trying to fit into situations I didn't fit in last year. Basically referencing, like, he recognized he had to get pulled off the floor in some important situations because he didn't offer the optionality on offense. So I do think that the Celtics developmental team, and also obviously coaches, they have a great relationship with these guys to be able to say to somebody like, hey, listen, you want to play, you got to answer these things. And then that team option is great, by the way. That's the fact that that's a team option on a player option of that value, that could be a super steal if he turns into the kind of player it seems like he wants to become.
I think another thing that we need to kind of praise Walsh for, and this kind of fits in with exactly what you've just said, Mike, is the shooting leap he took. And it's low volume, right? I just pulled up the numbers because I couldn't remember them off the top of my head. As a rookie, and again, it was 9 games, so take this with a pinch of salt. It is what it is, right? Shot 22.2% on 1 3-point attempt a game across a 9-game sample size. Sophomore season, shot 27.3% from deep on 1.1 attempts. This season, and that was over 52 games as a sophomore. This season, third year in the league, played 68 games, started 25, shot 38.4% from deep. So a huge jump, 1.8 attempts per game. So again, very small volume. So it's a small sample size in terms of shots per game. And if we want to go down to totals, just because I feel like sometimes that gives you a bit of a better overview, he went 48 of 125 this season. So a decent volume-ish, I guess. But that leap, to me, is probably part of the reason the Celtics felt so confident in giving Walsh the extra years to continue developing, because nobody's questioning what he can do defensively. Nobody's questioning the level of athleticism he's got. We've seen that he can get up, he can pressure the rim. This past year, I viewed him more as a slasher than I did as a spot-up shooter. And then defensively, his wingspan, just his ability to be aggressive and physical with guys, weak side rotations because of that wingspan and that athleticism can be good rim deterrents. I do think that there's some upside there that hasn't been tapped into. And if he can sustain that 3-point jump and increase the volume along with it. Now, if he can get to 4 shots a game, 3.5 to 4 shots is a high volume for a guy in his role. And he stays around that 37 to 38.5% mark. While playing that defense, he's going to outplay the value of that contract very, very quickly. And I think that plus the fact that there's a team option at the end of the deal, plus the fact that he's still, how old? He's 21. Even at the end of this extension, he's going to be another contract away from
27.
He's going to be a contract away from being in his prime. His next deal will be when he enters his prime. So for me, this was a good reward for the work he's put in. Another feather in the cap of their developmental system. Bearing in mind, everyone needs to remember that Luke Kornet also came through that developmental system and got paid by San Antonio. It's not just guys that are sticking around in Boston that are getting paid. It's if you come through this system, money's going to be on the table for you somewhere. And then you factor in the fact that he's already shown a jump from deep and he's young enough to take multiple steps forward. This was a win across every single category. You could just go down the list and check them boxes. Plus, it's super tradable. And I think this is another thing we need to touch on. That contract can be a throw-in in any star level deal you choose to make, if you choose to. And the more Walsh develops, the more enticing him being involved in the deal is going to be. So it helps Boston on the floor. It helps them because of the cap sheet, because it's such a reasonable deal. But it also helps them in future trade chatter. To me, I don't see how you could do much better than this. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, and I did not realize how much of a jump from percentage wise he did from deep. Like I know he was shooting better and he had a larger role this past off season or this past season, so to speak, but I didn't realize it was that much of a jump. And that's pretty drastic. I think, yeah, if he can get the volume up too, and I think that's sort of we talk about offensive optionality, the fact that he can work as a cutter because of his athleticism, he's a flight risk in that regard and he's able to shoot threes. If you can get him to be shooting at a higher volume, that's massive. And I think the minutes are going to be there. It's just a matter of can the Celtics get more out of this guy? And I think based on the way that they went about this contract and the fact that, he's saying all the right things as well, this is a guy who's deeply involved in the team. I feel like a good indicator of how invested players are, especially like in the early season, like this early off season. Look at how these guys get out to the summer league games to watch the young guys play and how like this guy's been around. He's going on what 4 years now. This will be his 4th year in the league. He's a vet on this roster. There's a lot of youth on this roster, and he's still so young. But compared to some of these other guys, he's able to show them the way. So it's really, really like it's heartwarming to see these guys kind of come together and also just be invested not only in each other but in this roster and in this team. So all in all, I really don't see the downside in this kind of deal, especially with the Celtics kind of needed to have as much depth as possible at the wing position when you went ahead and you added Paul George, who when he's playing, he's great, but you have to worry about those minutes. So shoring up these contracts, putting all these young guys like young wings like him and Hugo behind Paul George, where they're going to need minutes to develop anyway, and there's a potential to make that possible if there are any injuries, God forbid, it covers them in both ways.
How much fun is it going to be to figure out who the 5th starter is going to be this year during preseason and training camp, you think? It's like Joe's dream. It's like Sparta or something. He's got all these wings. He's just going to put in like a gladiator pit and be like, all right, figure out who's going to play. There's so much talent. You got Hugo, Jordan, Baylor, Hauser, Ron Harper Jr. There's so many options, so many cool things to see too. I didn't realize he was shooting 38% at him until you saw that. I knew he improved from the free throw line. I knew that was a concern because he gets to the hole pretty aggressively, but he actually didn't he shoot like mid-70s this year from the free throw line?
Yeah, so it was 77.2%. And the good thing here is, again, it was on increased volume. Feels like so rookie season, he only took 2 free throws. So shot 50%, went 1 of 2. If you're doing over a 2-shot sample size, what's the point? Wash that off. You can't take that. Second season, he only took 12 free throws. So again, it's not a sample size even worth caring about. This past season, to me, it's still not a good enough sample size to really be worth caring about. 57 free throws in total, went 44 of 57. Far more encouraging than the previous 2 years. And
Fair.
What encouraged me more was he only played, 16 games more in his third year than in his second year, but drew a significantly larger amount of fouls. And that, to me, told me he was being more aggressive in getting downhill and scoring opportunities. He was being way more willing to pressure the rim as a cutter, attack off the catch, attack off the rip. And that allowed him to draw those fouls to get to the line more frequently. If he gets an even bigger role this year, I think what we want to do ways to tell whether that aggression has continued and whether he's not just settling for 3-point shots is how many more free throws does he draw in his 4th year. If we go from 142 in 68 games to around about 210, then the aggression's pumped up and willingness to draw that contact. But more importantly, defenses are actually worried about him getting downhill at that point.
They have to respect it, yeah.
Once they start respecting it, that's when they start sagging off a little bit, and that's when you can start punishing them with the 3-point shot. So I feel like that's actually a really good trend to keep your eye on, just to see whether or not space is going to open up for him when he is coming off of a flare screen and then receiving the ball. The defense is anticipating the drive, so he gets that 3. Or are they panicking when he gets into the teeth of the defense and then fouling? So it's a great point.
Yeah, and it's a good position to be in too, where I do think also correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like when most of the time when a guy improves from the free throw line, his overall shooting is generally better. Just because you start to see it a little bit
in general, right?
Yeah, and I mean, again, going down to being more aggressive too. We talk about one of the pros of this player, of Walsh, is the fact that his athleticism is just so explosive. and he's lanky. He's able to get to the hoop. He's able to get up too. So it's not just a matter of being an explosive athlete. It's the fact that he's also able to get airborne and be aggressive. That's something that this Celtics team really, really needs to get through their heads. Just from an organizational standpoint, that's something that Stevens, I always go back to, talking about getting more rim pressure and talking about attacking the basket. They'd rather get dunks. This guy's a perfect example of why you'd want to keep him around. Like, he's very explosive athlete. You want to encourage these guys to attack the basket, not always settle for threes. And ultimately, like, if you attack the rim, it's going to make those 3-pointers easier. Because again, it's a defensive thing where they have to account for the fact of, like, I can't let this guy blow by me because he's just going to get to the hoop. We're going to get torched. So the idea of just being able to change things defensively for the opponent, and just overall how they're going to be able to attack things offensively by getting a guy like this more involved, like, it's something to be excited about in the same way that I'm excited about Hugo getting more minutes. Like, these wings are fun and exciting to watch. And the idea that, like, they have the luxury of having these guys on such cheap deals, it just, again, indicators of a well-run organization. It makes me very happy.
Walsh won me over when he got thrown out of a summer league game last year. I was like, I'm a fan. I'm a fan. And he's also
That pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie.
Made you mad. I love it.
You gotta be smarter than that. You gotta be smarter than
I
that.
think
But
for
I
me,
get
it's
it.
like, I want you to show that aggression and I want you to be that guy, but I want you to do it in an NBA game. I want you to do it in a G League game.
Sure.
You're a second year guy going into summer league. All I care about you showing is growth and development. You're a year in now. You're a pros pro. In terms of the summer league, where guys are second or third year pros, you're a pros pro at that point in summer league. I want to see that from you. I want to see that
high
from
on
the
winning
rookie.
championships or something. I don't know. I just thought
Yeah,
it was
maybe.
I thought it was great that he showed he had a dog in him, because I thought he was kind of meek and nerdy. And then when he went out there, it was like yelling at people. I mean, he is the Celtics all-time summer league scorer, by the way. So,
That's such a
that
weird
means
thing
that
for you
Such
to
a
tell out
terrible
of left
stat.
field.
Yeah.
How did you pull that out of
I know,
left
like-
field, man?
But yeah,
That's
I
crazy.
like that. I like that he's tough and humble. I mean, obviously, like, being able to, like, how many guys have the courage to repeat that kind of feedback that he was given from a coach or from his team? Like, hey, you need to, like, do these things. A lot of people would never repeat something like that.
It's
So I
easy
think it's
to
like
do
him
when the coach is
challenging him.
right, too.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
like him putting the challenge out into ether. Hey, everybody! Like, everybody knows I need to do this. It's kind of refreshing as a someone who watches the team and loves the team to hear a player say the thing you're thinking. And I just think it shows mental toughness. He's come a long way since his ejection at Summer League. It's kind of my
I mean, I wasn't, dude. It's not like I lost any fucking sleep over
No,
it. I'm just
ownership and
bothered at the
maturity,
end of
right?
it.
It's ownership and maturity. Yeah.
yeah.
I think what annoyed me the most was that was in front of Chisholm, and like just after he'd bought the team, and I'm like, dude, man, you're just going to be trying to impress. Come on, now.
Maybe
That's
Chisholm
like
likes that. Maybe
dude,
Chisholm likes
that's
to
like walking
smoke.
into an interview and being like, "Fuck you,
You're cool.
You're all right.
I'm out." That's what I was doing. Moving on. I think that we definitely need to touch on the fact that this is the second extension for the Celtics this summer. They've already extended Neemias. They're extended Jordan Walsh, as we've just spent basically the last 20 minutes hitting on. One more extension left for this offseason will be Peyton Pritchard, who's due 3 years, 68 million in terms, or 67, 68 million in terms of eligibility. Becomes eligible on October 1st. Again, another success story, late first round pick. And we got to give it to credit to Danny Ainge, because this was the last gift that Danny Ainge left Boston before he stepped away from that front office.
Mhm.
If I remember correctly, it was his last draft pick period with the Celtics.
I'll check that, but I know it was his last first rounder. I know that much.
Yeah,
For sure.
for sure. And so we can't give Brad the credit for the draft pick, because that goes to Danny Ainge. And it's just wild that his last first round pick ended up being so successful when there was so many times where people questioned whether Danny could draft late in the felt like later in the rounds. What I will say is that for me, Pritchard should be the biggest no-brainer out of all three of them. He's already one of the best value contracts in the NBA, but more importantly, he's going to be stepping into an even bigger role. And from all the reporting that came out following the Jaylen Brown trade, the Celtics were actually very on board with giving him that larger role and those additional touches and that additional usage. They're going to pay him like it for 3 years at 68 million. I think it's still quite a reasonable deal for a guy like Pritchard coming up. You know, he's not far removed from a 6 Man of the Year award. Depending on what they do with that guard rotation over the next 12 months, he might continue to be six man. I don't see that happening this year just because you want to start Mike Conley. No offense to Mike Conley,
Nope.
but you see what I'm saying? So I think Pritchard's going to end up in that starting five. Did you just check if it was Ainge's last pick overall?
It wasn't his last pick overall, but I wish it was.
It was his last pick?
It was his last first round pick with the Celtics. That
Grant?
same draft,
Bollocks.
they had gotten Neesmith. Unfortunately,
yeah.
that was basically the Desmond Bain trade, which that hurts
Yeah.
in hindsight, but I digress. The last pick that Danny Ainge made, Yam Madar. That was the last pick that he made. Because that was and then I think technically
No, it was the last
trade.
something. It was last first round. I mean,
was the last
I'm going back a few years
It
now.
was a banger. It was a banger. In his defense, banger. A lot of people questioned it when it happened.
Yam
And then
Madar. I
you see the
forgot
tape,
all
you're
about
like,
Yam
okay.
Madar.
Yeah, he's back with
I remember-
LSU. He's with LSU right
Yeah,
now,
he's close to
which
being
is
a college
weird.
player, I think,
It's
yeah.
still weird.
Just I remember texting Brendan Nunes, he covers the Kings now. I remember texting Brendan when Peyton Pritchard got signed because I can't remember if that was the draft. Is that the same draft that Maxey got picked?
Let me check. I'll be able to tell
I
you.
can't
Right.
remember off the top of my head.
Maxey, one of them.
I mean, Tyrese Halliburton was picked. He was picked at 12.
I love Tyrese Halliburton's game.
Maxey was picked. He was picked
There
at
we go, a few picks before Pritchard. And I remember Brendan texting me the next morning, like, dude, you guys should have traded up for Maxey. He's going to be a stud. And for years after, I've messaged Brendan at the end of every season just with Peyton Pritchard stats. Just with Peyton Pritchard stats.
I love Maxey, but hey, they still did okay.
Because he was like, guy, I didn't even have this guy on my first or second round on my draft board type of thing. And he wasn't the only one. A bunch of people I spoke to never had Pritchard on their draft boards. So now every season to this day, at the end of the season, I text Brendan the stats for the season. Just no context whatsoever. Just a bunch of numbers.
I love
And
that.
I just leave it at that. No, I think they need to extend Pritchard straight up, quick as possible. Make sure it stays done. Are you guys on board with that too?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it. It was funny because we were looking up, let's look up the Peyton Pritchard numbers, and we pulled up a pod from May, and it was us talking about it. It was I don't see why they shouldn't, just because in terms of, again, when it comes to this whole CBA and just keeping guys who are good, I think that's what you should do. And I think overall showing an investment in guys who are capable of playing a role. And it seems very much like a lot of people think that Peyton Pritchard is lined up for a larger role with this Celtics team, whether that means more touches, whether it means higher usage, whether it means a permanent starting role, who knows? I won't speak to the future, but the fact that that's even on the table means there is a strong belief in this guy. And there is a strong, outside of the organization, a strong belief in what Pritchard's able to do and what he provides for a team, and they were able to get him on a really, really good deal before. So I think it's another good sign, just good faith and good business to just invest in a guy who brings what he brings to the table. Just a lethal shooter who's continued, I think, honestly, he's added such nice little wrinkles to his game with his ability to create space with his body. The fact that he is the size that he is, and still, obviously, you're limited in some ways where you're able to defend when you're that size, but he still plays really sound defense. And he's also a really, really good rebounder for his size as well. So he does all the things that you want him to do. And he's continued to just play his role to a T, whether that's him coming off the bench and putting up 6 man of the year numbers, or it's him starting and being able to just create and run the offense to a T. There's just so much more to like about his game. And the way that he's kind of come along has just been really, really encouraging to see. So all the more reason to pay the guy. I don't see a reason not to.
It's a no-brainer. Get it done. Get it done. I mean, he's going to probably average, if not 20, close to it next year. I'm predicting. I mean, he's somebody's.
I think he might go a little bit over.
I can see him averaging 20, 21 points a game with just a few more minutes, just by getting more usage. I mean, he's been that good, and his ascent is not surprising at this point. Every year he seems to get better.
Here's a question for you. Do you have him as a 50, 40, 90 candidate?
Yes.
You do?
I could see it. I mean, this is me just agreeing.
He's on the cusp.
He's got to be close, right? He's got to be pretty close.
Because
I'm
he was
curious
one of
as to
the-
what his numbers were.
What was he
Okay,
last?
this past season, he was 46.4% from the field, 37.7% from three, and 89% from the free throw line. So he's actually not that far away, just a
No.
little bit more efficiency.
Mhm.
And he's going to have Jason Tatum throwing in passes this year.
That's nice.
Could Peyton Pritchard be a 50, 40, 90 candidate? I genuinely think I'd give the odds like, what, 70, 30? That 70% probably not,
Yeah.
30% probably? Or would
Yeah.
you go 70% probably, 30% probably not?
I would say 60-40 with 40% saying yes.
Okay.
I'm leaning towards it. I don't want to say it's a coin flip, but again, we're talking about what his role might be. If it's a bigger role, then that might affect his usage rate, which will obviously impact how much the ball is going to be in his hands versus him as a facilitator. Like how many what are his shots going to be like? But I think there's not reason to doubt it. I definitely wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility. My gut says, yeah.
I think
want
so.
that to happen.
Yeah, I think so, man. I think he's going to do it. I just think of how effective he was in the paint last year. All he has to do is kind of mix his shot, mix up a little bit, become more efficient, and it's right there.
That bump creation, man. That bump creation.
That's what I was saying. The way he uses his body like that, and he didn't do that when he came into the league. He developed.
No, that's developed.
Yeah,
That's developed. I don't know if any of you read it last year, but around about this time last summer, I got to do a bit of a Q&A with Pritchard, and one of the things I asked about was what went into his mindset when he was learning how to do that. Create off the bounce, create via contact. And if anyone wants to read it, the link's in the description for the newsletter. Just scroll back. You have to scroll a bit. Just there's a search feature, type in Pritchard. While you're there, subscribe to the Celtics Chronicle newsletter. The link's in the description. And he was like, dude, it came because one of the coaching staff told him to read The Art of War. And that kind of led him to change his mindset when getting downhill and trying to score. And I was like, dude, the Celtics getting philosophical out here.
You can't even tell me that wasn't Joe. Someone of the coaching staff, Joe. Joe told you to read The Art of War.
Joe taught you The Art of War. He's giving you lectures in the training facility. Right, we're getting off topic. With that, everybody, we're going to leave you to enjoy the rest of your day. I'm your boy, Adam Taylor. I'm joined by my homies, compadres, co-hosts in crime, Mr. Tim Sheils, Mr. Mike Webber. We will be back soon because we need to discuss some other things, namely one name, Mr. Bradley Beal.
Yeah.
We'll be back soon. Everybody, make sure if you're new here, you click that like and subscribe button. If you're listening on audio and you're not already subscribed, leave a 5-star rating, leave a review. Make sure the review's nice. If you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say it at all. And we'll be back soon enough. Everybody enjoy your weekend. Deuces.
Cheers.